Hi everyone, we're back with a special offering to help you start off your holiday season. Consider it our musical gift to all of you. As with all of our video concerts, there's a little theme running throughout the program, but we're going to talk about that a little bit later. For right now, let's get straight to the program. Here's Laura to tell you about the first piece.
Father of the symphony, father of the string quartet, friend of Mozart and teacher of Beethoven, and for 30 years the Kapellmeister to his wealthy patrons, the Esterházys. Of course, we're talking about Franz Joseph Haydn. Here is a composer who is tasked by his patrons with composing music in every possible genre of the time, as well as creating music for them to play with him. Prince Paul and Prince Nicholas were true patrons and lovers of the arts, and their demand for new works forced Haydn to excel at every musical form. Their palace, Esterházy, was remotely located in the Hungarian countryside, and this caused Haydn to be cut off from the musical centers of the world and other composers and musical trends. Haydn's answer to this problem? He said it just forced him to be even more original, and despite the distance, he still managed to become the most famous, the most sought-after composer of his day. The quartet we're about to play for you carries a nickname like so many of Haydn's works. This composition is known as the How Do You Do Quartet because of the rising, questioning nature of its opening and closing four-note musical motif. The mood of this work, like so much of Haydn's output, is genial and folksy. You can almost imagine yourself out in the Hungarian countryside and the local villagers dancing to the earthy tunes. This is the first movement, Vivace assai, from his Opus 33 No. 5 quartet, How Do You Do?
Vincenzo Galilei was one of the preeminent masters of his day, of both the lute and the study of music theory. And yes, he was also the father of that other famous Galilei, Galileo. Vincenzo's prowess as both a performer and as a researcher often brought him into close proximity with wealthy and powerful patrons. These patrons afforded him the ability to advance the technique of lute playing as well as explorations into the mathematics of music and acoustics. The Calliope in the title of our next work refers not to a merry-go-round, but to the most prominent of the 9 muses of Greek mythology. It was the job of the muses to inspire humans to create music, poetry, art, and science. Please enjoy Calliope by Vincenzo Galilei.
From the 16th century, we jump to the 20th. The American pianist Thelonious Monk has often been called the genius of modern jazz. His playing style is and was unmistakable, always innovative, always exploring and stretching the boundaries of jazz music. Many contemporaries found his music to be difficult. If he had a counterpart in the classical music world, I would say it would be Igor Stravinsky. Both shared the same restless pioneering spirit. Sadly, he spent much of his career suffering from addictions, brushes with the police over drug charges, and bouts with mental illness while struggling for artistic acceptance. It was in the mid-1950s that Monk was introduced to Baroness Pannonica Nika de Koenigswarter, a member of the Rothschild family and a patroness of several prominent New York City jazz musicians. She was a close personal friend and patron for the rest of Monk's life, even bringing him to live with her in her home for the final 6 years of his life as his health declined. She nursed him through his final illness until his death in 1982. Round Midnight is one of Monk's most popular compositions. It has been played and recorded by every major jazz musician that you can name, probably even a few you can't. It became the signature piece for Miles Davis, and a 1955 Newport Jazz Festival performance with Monk is even credited for launching his career. This seminal work in the jazz repertoire even inspired Italian pianist Emanuele Arciuli to commission a series of variations on the tune from a list of major American composers that includes None other than George Crumb, Michael Dougherty, Milton Babbitt, William Bolcom, Augusta Reed Thomas, Michael Torkey, Aaron J. Kernis, John Harbison, Frederick Rzewski, and Tobias Picker, as well as a number of Italian composers. We hope you enjoy our version of the piece, which features our flute soloist, Rita Linard. It was arranged by Ingo Luis and adapted by yours truly. Go ahead and turn down the lights for this one. This is Round Midnight by Thelonious Monk.
Purcell, born in 1659, lived a tragically short life. At his death, he was believed to be only 35 or 36 years old. Despite his brief existence, he was an incredibly prolific composer, creating music for the opera, the theater, and the church, as well as numerous odes and anthems for the coronation and various celebrations for his patrons King James II and Queen Mary of England. He is regarded as one of England's greatest composers, and it wasn't until the arrival of Edward Elgar in the late 19th century did England produce another composer of such stature. He's buried next to the organ at Westminster Abbey. Little is known about our next work, the Chacony in G minor. He may have written it in the late 1670s when he took on a new job as the court composer for an ensemble known as the 24 Violins. Even more, we're not sure why he used the word Chacony instead of the more common French term used to describe a set of variations over a repeating bass line, a chaconne. And the name Chacony appears nowhere else in all of music, so it would seem he coined the term himself. Whatever the case, we hope that you enjoy Purcell's Chacony in G minor.
If we were to think of Haydn as the country mouse, then most certainly his city mouse counterpart would be Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart. He and his music are the embodiment of 18th century cosmopolitan grace and style. Like Purcell, Mozart's life was unfortunately short. But also like Purcell, Mozart was amazingly prolific. We all know the stories of his prodigy and his struggles. And yet, despite his hardships after leaving the patronage of the Archbishop of Salzburg, he managed to continue to give the world some of the most beautiful, elegant music ever written. His outputs include quartets, string quartets and other chamber pieces, masses, sonatas, concertos, symphonies, and of course his still wildly popular operas. The Adagio from his Purcell 285 Flute Quartet that we are about to play for you was composed as a part of a larger commission by a wealthy Dutch amateur flutist. It sounds as though this piece could easily have been one of the gorgeous arias from his operatic output. It is a delicate, introspective musical moment with the flute at the center of attention, as it should be. Throughout the song, the flute sings a troubadour-like song to the lute-like accompaniment of the plucked strings. Please enjoy the Adagio from Mozart's Quartet in D major, Purcell 285.
I hope you've been enjoying this holiday treat so far. Why so far? Because I have one more helping for you, but before we get to that, I wanted to talk to you just a little bit about the meaning of today's program. The critical relationship between artists, both performing and creative, and patrons goes back as far as we can trace the creation of the arts themselves. The arts would not have withstood the trauma of wars, political and economic turmoil, natural disasters, and even pandemics without the generous support of patrons great and small, kings, princes, queens, clergy, foundations, socialites, endowments, and especially the regular people like you and me who buy tickets and fill seats. We are all partners in the preservation of the art forms and arts institutions that bring color, inspiration, and joy to our lives. But right now, we are all at a critical juncture in the survival of this precious shared heritage. These are unquestionably unprecedented times. We will survive this challenge, and so will the Mid-Texas Symphony, but it will only do so through your continued stewardship and generosity. As a result, we will be able to sustain your orchestra, and it is your orchestra, so that generations of adults and children in your community will be able to enjoy and benefit from this source of great cultural pride for many more seasons to come. So, with our music and our words, we thank you from the very bottoms of our hearts, each and every one of you, for all that you have done and all that we hope you will continue to do for the Mid-Texas Symphony. And now, one more piece. While the Mozart work we just played for you is undeniably sublime, it's beautiful, it's delicate, it is a bit melancholy, and I didn't want to send you off to your celebrations with tears in your eyes. So, here's Hawley's and my rendition of Scott Joplin's Maple Leaf Rag to get your toes tapping again. Why this piece? It's simple. There's a dance that became all the rage as a result of Joplin and his colleagues' ragtime melodies. It's called the Turkey Trot. How perfect for this time of year. Or, in my case, since I'm a vegetarian, the Tofurkey Trot. Anyway, feel free to get up and work off some of that stuffing and enjoy Scott Joplin's Maple Leaf Rag. We'll see you in December. We hope you get a good start to your holidays. Bye-bye.